What's up, on-site bros? Welcome back to the channel. Looks like we poked the Chinese bear today. We got away with it. So, gotta give props to Nancy Pelosi. As much as I don't want to, say that. Poked the bear, got away with it. So, respect. But for real, the fact that we have these baby boomer elites doing absolutely insane things, just watch your back, folks. Like, have you covered, have your family covered, because at some point in time, like, these boomers are gonna realize that this is not the old world. The world that existed from 1944 to the one that we are going into is going to be very, very different, and it may not be a US-led dominated world. And we are at the very last part of that. And so what will occur next, like where we go from here, based on history and based on cycles, is that we will get to the spot where we will start to see political violence. That is not popular to talk about. We're not gonna dive into that too much, but those are the next steps. So when you guys come back to this video in a year or two and you're like, oh my gosh, this, that, yes. But moving forward, we will eventually get to a thing called the guy for the thing. Okay, this is like where you have your Lincoln, you have your George Washington, you have your FDR. America every 80 to 100 years has elected to take a strong man and basically throw away their rights and give it all to the strong man to save the nation. And most of the time, it's been a bad choice. Like if you really were to dive through history, it really didn't work out. In the case of George Washington, maybe, right? I mean, the world would have been different if we had been a British territory. In the case of Abraham Lincoln, highest death count of any war that we'd ever have, only guy to target schools, churches, and small towns that were not militarily defended. I know you guys think he freed the slaves, read your literature. He actually helped strengthen border states to be slave states, so sorry. He also used slaves to fight his war and then gave them their freedoms not when he told them that he would. So, you know, thing on Lincoln, FDR, only guy to lock the banks, steal the gold, devalue the gold, took 45% of everybody's purchasing power away from them on a Friday, basically. They locked the banks on a Friday, on Monday, boom, it was gone. And the people went along with it. That's just, yeah, everybody took a 45% wealth cut. That's just what they did. So moving on from here, the next stops are political violence. People get tired of political violence. And if we follow Rome's playbook, they will push for a Caesar-like character, or a Caesar-like character will evolve. He will kind of come out of somewhere, and it'll be like an end to this political violence. He will wield the sword, if you will, for lack of a better term, but probably figuratively and literally, and he will calm the seas and then patch together what is remaining of the U.S. empire. We may not be a global superpower at that point, we probably will be, but we won't be like the traditional strong post-World War II world order USA. Like we will be like a, you know, smaller, more patched up, like less of a global entity for that, a global player, let's put it that way. We won't be running the game anymore. Other people will have a seat at that table, which I think is completely fine. But the next things from here are guy for the thing. And you guys will comment below and give me your speculations on who the guy for the thing is. We don't know who the guy is, we don't know who the thing is. But we know that history tells us that when things like this happen to empires, a guy for the thing typically, historically, has emerged. Always normally coming from the elite class, normally coming from the military class or military background. So what you're looking for is like a billionaire, 30s, 5 something, Navy SEAL, Army Ranger type of kid. All right, like if Don Jr. wasn't a weenie, like that guy. Like think if John Jr. was Jocko Willink, that could be guy for the thing, okay? So from here, that is typically where we go. As you watch your baby boomer elites fly around and start wars with, you know, Russia and fund these people and fund these people, and they're essentially taking that one thing we got out of World War II, which was the world reserve currency. We have an exorbitant privilege in this country. We can print money out of thin air, literally, and import your stuff. Like, that is a huge privilege, and at some point in this decade, the math would suggest that game's gonna be over. And when it gets close to being over, that's when you'll start to see these political violent acts start to occur. And from that, when people get tired of that, this could take a long period of time. This could take a generation of time. It could be our children that see this leader emerge in their generation. But from that, you will get a guy for the thing from the elite class, post-military type of background, has that type of circle. Essentially, he's untouchable, and America will rally behind this guy. That's at least what history tells us. I hope I'm kind of wrong, because I really like the idea of a republic. If we're going to have a government or anything like that at all, which I think is not very based, I'm not really into the whole government thing. I'm more like the world should function on anarchical capitalist standard. But if we're going to have governments, I'd rather have a republic. If we're going to have a democracy, I would rather maybe have the guy for the thing. I don't know if I really like the idea for the guy for the thing, but the history doesn't give a rat about my opinion. History is just like, this is what it is, guy for the thing when things get crazy. So next inbound, watch for your US elites to continue to do crazy things. Watch for them to find all sorts of excuses like monkeypox or this or that, all sorts of stuff to continue to throw at this falling fiat currency system. Understand that at some point in time, the music will stop and you better be sitting in a chair. And if you're not sitting in a chair, you're going to have a hard time with what's coming, because at the very end of this game, probably occurring this decade, everything you knew as far as how things functioned at an organized manner previously in the post-world or the previous world order will be up for grabs moving forward into a new world order. It's not just like Klaus and like his boys and like Gates and all those guys. I mean, yeah, they want a seat at that table for sure. They want to run that table, but all of these things are up for grabs. I would argue Bitcoin might be at that table, and we, like the commoners, can partake in that by owning part of that asset. Likewise, we've always had the option with silver and gold, and every single time that this has happened in the past, silver and gold for 5,000 years have had your back, and I don't think this time will be any different. In fact, this time might be the most epic of them all. So I love you guys being here. Thank you for being down in the comments. Thank you for hitting these likes on these videos. You guys that make it through all the ways to the end, please hit the likes on these videos, make this thing go, and then let me know in the bottom what you guys want to see. Thank you for being here.